Hey, so today I'm going to talk about another thing, except this one I'm going to talk about something that I used to do in specific, some the stuff that I used to watch, right? Now, I've talked about old YouTube, I've talked about things that I used to watch, but I was watching a video, and that's kind of how it always leads into me talking about shit. Sometimes it's like, oh, I was watching a video, but ironic or not ironically, what the fuck's wrong with me? Strangely enough, it was a music video, and it was Joji, right? Anyone who doesn't know who Joji is I believe he's Japanese Australian. I believe I am not sure on that one. I know he lived in Japan, and I'm pretty sure he's half Japanese. But I think he's also half. I don't know. Okay, whatever. My point being, Joji's a very popular singer, and the reason I wanted to talk about what I used to watch is because I remember when Joji was Filthy Frank. And I used to love watching Filthy Frank. Filthy Frank was like one of the, like, here's the thing, right? So the internet, even back then, used to be very like crazy about everyone being good, right? Like you couldn't say offensive things, you couldn't be offensive, you couldn't do wacky shit. You had to fall in line, right? But what's Jesus Christ, my fucking lisp just caused a whistle. Ugh. Sorry. But back then on the internet, like you would have like so many YouTubers like getting in trouble just for like random shit, just like not even like doing anything. Like they'd get in trouble for like saying a certain word, or they are doing like an action in a game that people deem offensive in some fucking way. And Filthy Frank was one of the strangest cases because it felt like, well, yes, I did see every once in a while see comments or something about like him being like, oh, he's a bigot, he's this, he's that. It felt like he was like one of the people that somehow got away with everything, right? Like it felt like no one, it felt like anyone who was angry at him just quit being angry at him, and he became like one of the biggest fucking guys on the internet, all by just saying the most fucked shit, making crazy music, like. And I'm not talking about his Joji music. I'm talking about his Pink Guy music because I've listened to those albums and they're all great and they're fucking hilarious. like, like the man was fucking funny, but on top of being funny, he was talented. He was creative. And what some people missed was that the whole point of Filthy Frank was that it was like it's literally in the bio of his channel is like Filthy Frank is a character that I play that is what a person on the internet is not supposed to be, right? But people like lose their shit over like every little thing. Shane Dawson was getting canceled just because he used to make jokes. Like PewDiePie got canceled because he just made jokes in the past. But like no one cared about, like everyone like collectively just liked Filthy Frank. Like no matter what he did, it didn't matter what he said, what he did, everyone liked him. And for good reason. He was hilarious. Like, and when I was watching the Joji music video, I think it was like called TikTok or something like that. I don't know. Like I look at like how popular his music is now because dude has had like so many like huge hits, and I have to like remind myself, like when I look at him, I'm like, this man was Filthy Frank. This man used to be a YouTuber who wore a dirty shirt, glasses, put on like a raspy voice, and would sometimes dress in a pink outfit and just say whatever he wanted to say. And like I look at that and I think to myself, I'm like, damn, he really came far. Like this dude like went from one of like the funniest and strangest people on the internet to suddenly he's like this fucking megastar in music. And obviously that's a bit what would it be, hyperbole, is that correct? I don't know, I know a bunch of big words, but I don't know the definition of half of them. But he's not, obviously not like a mega star. He is a star. He's a music star. And people can be like, "Oh, well, I don't like his music, so he's not." But like regardless of how whether or not people like his music, he is, because he's had so many hits and even albums that just outright do good. Like it feels like each album has like one or two songs that constantly get played nonstop because he's just that good. I mean, obviously people would be like, "Oh, well, if he's that good, why don't all his music do good?" But like, I don't think there's a single album where every song has done good. Like every album has a song that has done bad. Like that's just how music works, unfortunately. Like who knows? Maybe one day in the future there will be an artist that is so damn good that there is not a single song on the track that is like all the songs are like same level of great. Because like people can look back at stuff like Queen, right? Because Freddie Mercury was considered like one of the best singers of all time, But at the end of the day, even he had albums where not every song was popular, not every song was the top tier, right? Like it can't be helped. But anyway, this is supposed to be about me talking about what I used to watch, and I used to watch Filthy Frank a lot. I really enjoyed Filthy Frank's content, and yeah, I mean, just like I just saw that Joji video, and I was just thinking to myself, like, damn, that's really him. That's him. That's the guy. That was formerly known as Filthy Frank, and I used to watch him all the time, and it's like, goddamn, well, shit. But I think another one, and I feel like everyone has watched this person at some point. Most people hate him now just solely because the internet hates anyone who's happy, especially if they've done anything that would be considered bad in their past. People will do their best to make sure that this person gets death threats constantly, and that person is PewDiePie. Everyone knows him. It's impossible if you're on the internet. It's impossible not to know who he is. Like even if you were literally just born yesterday, you know who he is. A bit of a joke, obviously. There are people who don't know who he is, obviously, but he recently put out a video where he was talking about how he's having a baby, and it's another one of those things where I watched this man from almost like obviously not the beginning of his channel, almost the beginning, because I didn't watch him when he was a Call of Duty trick shotter, but I was watching him like ever since like a little bit after that, and watching this man go from like just like I'm pretty sure he was like a hot dog vendor or something like that, or something like that. I don't know. And like watching this man go from like some guy like curled up on his bed, like with his knees in frame, like playing on like a shitty laptop or computer or something. I don't remember what he was doing. As he like had like a mic that was constantly getting blown out, video quality was low, and it was like watching him, and it was just like holy shit, like this man has come so far. Like this man went from like talking about how he never wanted to get married to being married, talking about how he wasn't really wanting to be a father to being a father, or well, he's gonna be a father. And it's like it's fucking wild. It's wild to watch because it's just like you watch this person for so long, and it kind of just feels like you're just watch like because like I was a kid, I was literally a kid when I watched him, and to like be an adult myself and then see him be like in his like almost in his 40s or something like that. I actually don't know how old he is. But to like see like this evolution of like people you used to watch your whole life is so crazy. Like it's so wild. Like to think like there was a time where this guy or any of these people you used to watch were just dudes sitting in their room just playing a game, sometimes playing multiple games in multiple days or just like in one day even. Where because I'm pretty sure PewDiePie or Markiplier, one of the two, used to put like 2 to 3 videos out a day or something like that. And I kind of think about that how they were just dudes. They were just dudes. They were just fucking chilling in their room with like the cheapest equipment they could probably get, just chilling, playing some games, being goofy. And now you look at them and it's like, holy shit, what the hell happened? Because the same went for Markiplier. I watched Markiplier almost from the. I'm pretty sure I actually did watch him from the beginning because I I don't know, like obviously he started with Amnesia, the game Amnesia. He didn't have Amnesia, but I watched Markiplier from like my whole life, and he was like this. He went from like a having no face cam to eventually having face cam, and like his whole gimmick was that he wanted to be an engineer, which wasn't a gimmick. It was like him actually in college, but he was this goofy little guy with a faux hawk and glasses, and he would talk about how handsome he was, and he was cocky and loud, and it was funny. And now I look at him and I'm like, holy shit, is this even the same man? Because Markiplier is a fucking hunk now, okay? Dude is pure hotness, all right? Like I'm not into men. Markiplier is the one exception, okay? I will make like that's the one exception, okay? I may not like men, I may not be into men, but Markiplier is like the one exception on this, okay? Like he's just too fucking hot. But jokes aside, like the dude's like crazy now. Like he's fucking shredded and buff as shit. Like he no longer has like a goofy look anymore. He has just like this chiseled Chad that just stares at a horror game, continues to make noises and have an ego, and it's almost in a way like he never really changed other than getting rid of his like crazy announcer voice. But like I watched him for so long, and he went from this like twiggy faux hawk nerd to like this absolute fucking like chiseled hunk who still is doing the same things. And not only is he doing the same things, but he's succeeding and everyone loves him. Like people can't even like find reasons to hate him. Like if people don't watch him, they can't even be mean about it. They're just like, "Oh, I just never resonated with his content." Like people can't even like find the heart to be mean to Markiplier. He's just that fucking like cool of a person. And it's wild. And I watched obviously like Jacksepticeye too. And I'm not gonna pretend like I'd watched this channel from like the start. I watched him from when PewDiePie shouted him out, and I watched him for a long time. And I think there was someone else I knew who used to watch Jacksepticeye. I can't remember. I think someone else did. I think it might have been my cousin. I don't know, but I don't know. I used to watch his content a lot too, and now I don't really know what. I mean, I still like him. I'm not gonna like you know like he. I look. I don't like being mean. I'm not being mean, but I don't like. I feel bad saying this in a way, but I don't really like a lot of his content now, and it's not necessarily, I don't know, anything specific. It's kind of just like he's kind of like a streamer now, right? Like his personality is kind of like streamer based, where he's friends with all the big streamers. He's very he's a lot more gentle now. He's also one of a lot like those streamers where like almost every 10 seconds on Twitter is, or anytime like he talks in video, he's like immediately apologetic about anything that happened in the last video. He's very much like trying to like defend himself type person, like a lot of streamers do, where like they'll say like, "Oh, that's stupid," and then in their next stream they'll be like, "Guys, I apologize for saying stupid. That was very insensitive of me." Like he's kind of like that now. He's kind of like a bit too constantly trying to save face, but he's still entertaining and he's still a good person, right? I still like Jacksepticeye. I just don't really care for his content as much as I did. I still like his content, but it's just not as much as I used to. Another person I used to watch. Oh, I watched a lot of horror game YouTubers. Okay, so next one I used to watch was Corey Kenshin or Corey X Kenshin, but I'm pretty sure it's just Corey. It's kind of like how in Hunter x Hunter, where some people say Hunter X Hunter, but it's like Corey Kenshin. It has an X in it, but it's not Corey Kenshin, right? And I watched him. I think I actually did watch him from not from the exact beginning, because he did like a lot of like older like skits in his like I think his college or high school or something. But I used to watch him quite a lot. I loved like watching his attitude. And like obviously like people can be like, "Oh, well you're watching a heavily religious guy, right?" Yeah. But like I've always said, like I don't care about any of that stuff, right? Like if someone who makes content is heavily religious, it's fine as long as it's not like something where like they're forcing their beliefs on you. And Corey was he never did. He was a good guy. And he was an entertaining guy. And then, he disappeared. He kept having problems, and now he's kind of just like on and off again. But he's still entertaining, and he's still a pretty good guy. And that's kind of like a lot of the things with like a lot of big YouTubers I used to watch when I was younger is that some of them are still around, and not really a lot has changed. And what things have changed are kind of just, you know, not really things that bother you as much. And I always try to like think of like, oh well, who else is there? Because I watch a lot of people. Like I said, I watch a lot of like commentary drama, but I didn't watch commentary drama until I was about like 4 or 5 years ago or something like that. And mostly I watched just a lot of gaming stuff. And I did watch some skits. Like I like Brandon Rogers. I think he's really funny. And that's about it. I don't know any other skit channels. I guess Dashy XP is kind of skits, but he doesn't do as many skits anymore. He's mostly just his gaming channel now. And I still like Dashy. I actually watched him for a long ass time. And like watching him like transform himself to being like this like guy who's like in like amazing health with an amazing body, and he's still the same old like funny guy. Like I like it. You know, I guess a YouTuber I watched for a long time that was I originally actually did not like when I first watched them was Lost Pause, which I actually mentioned him when I was talking about Hyperdimension Neptunia, because he was the one who got me into Hyperdimension Neptunia. And I remember when I first watched him, I hated him solely because I hated his like over the top like it wasn't like over the top like everyone else. It was kind of just like constantly screaming and making weird faces and trying too hard to be anime, uwu and the such, even though I don't think uwu was even a thing back then. But and I think the reason for that was because I wasn't really super into anime when I first saw him. So I kind of was like on the side of the people of the internet who were like, anime is cringe, Like I was kind of just like never really into anime, right? I had watched Bleach, but that was about it. But I kind of just thought like overall like, oh, people like anime are cringe. And when I watched his thing and I was just seeing him like play visual novels and just making weird noises and stuff, I was kind of like, God, this guy's kind of annoying and kind of cringy, right? But eventually, like over time, I watched him again, and I was like, you know what, I like this guy. And over time, like I really liked him, and I was watching his channel for a long ass time, back when he had like the blue walls and the visual novels that he doesn't play anymore, and now he just does meme reviews on like his subreddit and all that shit. And he's still entertaining, and he's still a fun guy, right? Like I still like Lost Pause. I still love watching his videos. Very entertaining. And like the video's like supposed to be like what I used to watch, but it's also me talking about like what are they doing now? Do I still watch them now? And yeah, I do. But obviously there's like channels that are gone or don't do shit anymore, because of like maybe like some problems. Like I think everyone knew that like if anyone watched PewDiePie, he had a really, really close friend named Cryotic or just Cry. And Cry was always like he had like a silky voice and he was like calm and he seemed like kind of like a little funny guy, like a funny, nice guy. And then he turned out to be a fucking psychopathic dipshit who literally, like, I don't know, like if anyone's watching this and anyone wants to know what Cry did, just literally just go on, like, just look it up. Like, he's not a good person. And the same can be said about some other people. Like, I watched Raid Wolf, who is a fucking creep ass pedo, and I, I, I I used to love watching his videos, and that's the saddest part. There was also one named Yami Mash who was very close to Markiplier. He was a very close YouTuber that a lot of people liked. A lot of people loved the whole Marky Mash collabs, or as they called it, and everyone was like, "Oh, Markiplier and Yami Mash, the best combo." But then there came this like people were like throwing like these allegations of like him like flirting with a minor or something, and like then it like I'm pretty sure it like revealed that like he actually didn't know, and then like here's the thing, I don't know about the Yami Mash thing, but from what I do know, what the little I do know, I'm pretty sure they said that he was led on by someone and people thought he was a pedo, and then it turned out he wasn't or something like that. But in the end, people still didn't like him because he was like cheating on his wife or girlfriend or whatever. I don't know. And Markiplier completely cut ties with him, and the thing is, I still don't know if he's guilty or innocent, right? I don't know. I also used to watch Tobuscus. I loved watching his gaming, his skits, all that kind of shit. And to see what he is now is like, I don't know. It's just like one of those things where it's like I hate when people I like watching just kind of become this. And I haven't seen this much, but I hate when people I watch become like almost like just political channels at this point. Like if like let's say if I was watching Markiplier and then like suddenly in like 5 years after that, he just suddenly became like a super like left-leaning like political person, and every one of his videos was just about like how Biden is going to help America, how the right is evil, and all that kind of shit. Like I would just be completely like, oh man, really, this is what Markiplier became, and then I would turn it off, and I probably wouldn't watch because I don't watch people for like political shit. But Tobuscus is now political. He's like a very heavy into the right wing politics, and a lot of the things he does now is just straight political. And I don't like that. So I don't watch him anymore because I just don't like politics. It does not matter on the side. If a channel turns heavily political, then I don't care. It's the same with religion, right? If people have a preference, that is fine. If they make jokes pertaining to that reference or to that thing, or if it's just like mentioned in passing, that is fine. Like Corey Kenshin with his religion, where like yes, he has like religious themes, but it's not like shoved down your throat type thing. Compared to political channels, which whole identity is shoving it down your throat. Which is why I didn't want to watch Tobuscus anymore, because I didn't want political shit shoved down my throat. And there's not a lot of channels that I've watched that have turned like hyper political. I don't think there's any. But there was a channel that I watched a lot. I loved watching horror game YouTubers, and there was one that stood out solely because he wasn't like scared by anything, right? He wasn't just a channel that was like, oh, a jump scare happens. Whoa, guys, that was fucking insane. You know, like he didn't put on an act. And this person was John Wolf, or formerly known as Harshly Critical, very deadpan, dead inside looking person who plays horror games. Looks miserable, but he's not. He just always looks miserable, which is why he had a catchphrase that was called like friendly eyebrows, where he would like try to put his like move his eyebrows up so he looked like happier, but he always looks like dead inside, and that's kind of the joke. But he would play horror games. He'd play every horror game pretty much that ever came out, and almost none of them would ever really scare him. And he even had like a thing where he would play like a bunch of like really bad horror games and laugh at them. And I always found him entertaining because I loved his just deadpan delivery, his just hatred of almost everything in horror games. And when he actually liked a horror game, it was entertaining because you would never know, because he would just kind of just stare at it and get mad at things, or not really get mad, but just kind of like point out weird things. But then in the end, he'd be like, I like it. But I always loved his content. And he still does stuff like that. He streams more, but I still love watching John Wolf's videos. But I watched him for a long time. Like I watched him back when he didn't have a face cam, and then eventually he had like the shaved head with like a beard. And or no, actually I think he originally didn't even have a beard, or he didn't have much of one. I don't remember. It's been a long fucking time. But I used to watch John Wolf a lot because he was like mostly just horror, and he was a different take on horror let's players because he wasn't just screaming at everything. He would just stare blankly when a jump scare happened, and he'd be like, wow, great jump scare. And it was funny. It was something different. And he still kind of does that, but I'm starting to think. I think that maybe that was more of a character he put on, because now he gets a little more scared often. Either that, or maybe getting older just makes you easier to scare. I don't know. But I'm trying to think if there's like any other YouTubers I used to watch that I can't really think of any, because most of them I watched late. I used to watch 8-Bit Ryan. I think I watched him a little too late though. But I would say that he was still kind of not really where he is now. So I think it was like old enough to say that I watched him, but I did watch 8-Bit Ryan a lot, and 8-Bit Gaming. And I like him. I like him. His content hasn't really changed. It's pretty much just still him screaming and usually talking about Five Nights at Freddy's. Look, I really like Five Nights at Freddy's too. Okay, I also watched Dawko, who was a primarily Five Nights at Freddy's channel, and both their channels still do the same thing. They still play games. They still do Five Nights at Freddy's things. I have no idea how, considering I would think that Five Nights at Freddy's is probably like dead in the ground at this point. But they're still going, and I still watch them for some reason. But I like their content. I like them. And like sometimes it's not even like about like entirely liking the content. Sometimes they're just good people that they themselves are just entertaining or likable enough that you just kind of want to watch them. And I don't know if there's anyone else, like, because like I said, there's so many. Like I was so late to so many people, like Germa and Vine Sauce. I was so late to those. Like there's so many channels that I was like monstrously late to, that and a lot of them are usually like streamer based ones, like I said with those two, because they're just very streamer based. They usually just stream, and I don't like watching streams. I usually wait for like the VOD to come out, or an edited version of the VOD or something, or like a video that was like clipped from the VOD or something, because I don't like watching streams in real time, because to me streams are nothing but like the person barely playing a game and getting angry at their chat. Like I've never seen a stream that I've had fun watching solely because there's nothing happens. Like you have to wait hours for them to play a game solely because they're too busy yelling at their chat because their chat said something they didn't like, and then they're too busy telling their mods to ban them. And then someone in the chat says, "Wow, why are you banning people, you loser?" And they're like, "Hey, I'm not a fucking loser." And then they argue for an hour, and then they keep telling mods to ban people. That's just one of the reasons why I don't like watching streaming. I want to skip through that. So when they put the VOD up, I skip through that shit. I get to when they're actually, being entertaining and having fun. But Germa and Vinny are very funny guys. Like they don't, like, even watching like their full VODs, I don't have to skip because like they're just fucking funny. But when I think about what I used to watch on YouTube, it's always crazy because it's wild, because some of them I watched and it's weird watching them just be like these young people just trying to entertain, and now like there's these like big people, they're like fucking in their 30s, close to their 40s, maybe even in their 40s, and they're building brands, they're building their face, they're building their name, and it's like holy shit. Like these guys came a long way. Like I was just some kid like in my fucking grandma's house just slapping on the keyboard like I want to watch Markiplier play Slender. And then now this man is like fucking doing big shit. He's got like movie, like his own little like form of movie type things. And I don't know. I've watched YouTube for a long time. I've watched so many people. I've seen so many bullshit. I've seen so many people grow up great. I've seen so many of their channels grow great. I've seen so many people's channels die. I've seen deletions. I've seen arrests. I, I've seen like political awakenings. I've seen all the type of shit the channels do. And sadly, I've had to cut channels off in the past because it's like one of those things where it's like you don't want to like unsubscribe from like channels you watched your whole life, right? Like you, even if they're like becoming something you don't like, you don't want to like unsubscribe because you're just like this channel used to mean so much watching it, but now it's just nothing. And that's kind of how I felt about like Tobuscus. I was kind of like, this used to mean so much watching it, and now it's just that he's just politics now. And some of them, like I didn't even have to unsubscribe from because their channels were just downright fucking deleted because they were creeps. But yeah, I've watched a lot. I've watched for a long time, and I've watched some channels like almost from the beginning. And it's crazy to see how far they've come, and it always makes me wonder like who's like is there going to be anyone new from this like generation of people uploading to YouTube or Twitch or any of that kind of stuff who maybe down the line are going to be anything like that? Like maybe like some guy who's like I don't know playing like random horror games with like about like 500 subscribers right now, maybe in about like 2-3 years time he's going to be in the millions, and he's going to be like the next generation of like that type of YouTuber. You know, you never know, and it's always crazy because the internet just fucking moves, dude. That shit moves, and sometimes it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad just looking at everything and realizing, damn, time is really marching on, and everything I've known is now way bigger than it was. So yeah, I don't know. This is me talking about the things I used to watch, and I kind of went on like random rants about random things, and but whatever, it's basically what it is. So yeah, whatever.